We're here.
Hello. So we'll be starting pretty soon?
I think so.
8:30?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to disappoint the 6 people that are out there waiting for us. Oh, okay, there we go.
Hello.
Hello, Ms.
Lori,
Mann.
Lori Mann.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes.
Okay, do you think we should get started?
Yeah, I think 30. Let's go and get started.
Let's be on time for something.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christina Lesher, and thank you so much for joining me today. And we are doing our Facebook Live version of answering your estate planning, long-term care planning questions, and questions in general about caring for your loved one. And I have our surprise guest. It was a surprise to you, too, that you were my surprise guest, weren't you? Surprise! So this is Robert Pierce, and he is a care manager at my office. And Rob, do you want to tell everybody what you do at my office as a care manager?
Sure, I'm the care manager at your office.
Oh, I'm going to be here all night, folks.
I do medical assessments. I visit people in their homes. I help people decide when to move their loved ones, how to find good facilities. A lot of that stuff we'll be actually talking about tonight.
And I'm an elder law and special needs attorney, so I help families who have a loved one in a nursing home, need to figure out how to pay for care. Or we also help clients that just need wills if they're a young married couple or if they have kids and they need estate planning documents for themselves. So that's what we do. We're really happy to see everybody, even if it's over the internet. We usually do speaking engagements, so we haven't been able to do that because of COVID. So we thought we'd reach out to everybody where everybody is at 8:30 at night, Facebook. So that's our introduction?
Yeah,
okay.
Itching to talk.
Okay. And do you want to give them the legal stuff, Rob?
Sure, of course. So there is no attorney-client relationship is established until there's a signed contract and a fee paid.
That is correct. That is correct. So before we get started with our questions, or your questions, because we're so thankful for everybody that sent us questions and emailed questions, we have a little special trivia that we're going to present at the end of our Facebook Live session today. So if you stick around for the whole thing, you will have a chance to answer a trivia question and put your name in the drawing for a $50 Starbucks gift card. So I think that's a pretty good deal for a 30-minute investment.
They'll keep you awake.
That's true. For our next Facebook Live. Which will tell you more about that too. Okay, so let's just go with our first question, and that is, at what age should you start doing estate planning? And the answer I always tell families when they ask me that question is, if you're over the age of 18, you need a power of attorney. If you're sending those kiddos back to college, if they are going in person, then you're over the age of 18, son or daughter will need a financial and medical power of attorney because they may still be on your household payroll, but you are no longer their natural guardian. So if they're in an accident or you need to make a financial decision for them and they're not able to, that adult son or daughter needs a power of attorney. And Rob, we do a lot of those for
college.
Especially
like college age, when they're leaving, going off, spreading their wings, getting their first apartment. Being all crazy, it's a good time to make sure you have those legal documents.
I was never crazy. Oh,
I was.
Who am I kidding? We went to Texas State. Of course we were crazy. So we have a lot of sleepy 20-year-olds that would come into our office and we do their powers of attorney. So that's our first question, and I think it's important for everybody who's over the age of 18, even if you're married, to have estate planning documents. Because even if you've been married 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, your spouse does not have the legal ability to make financial decisions for you. And we have had a lot of cases where there was no financial power of attorney and we had to go through a very long, expensive legal process called guardianship. And we sure want everybody to avoid that. And you want to appoint the people that you like and that you trust to make those decisions. You don't want a judge to be making those decisions. They're there if the need arises. A judge can make those arrangements and appoint what's called a guardian, but you sure want to avoid that.
And it helps keep the privacy of the clients. inside the family doesn't even make it out to the
That's
court,
right. That's right.
the public, and
most important, it saves you on attorney fees.
yeah, what happens when you get two attorneys in the same room?
It gets very expensive. Get your checkbook out, folks. 2 lawyers equals a lot of zeros. Okay, so you want to avoid that. So, Rob, let's do one of the care questions.
Sure.
So, everyone's worried right now about caring for their loved one during the time of COVID. Do you have any tips for people who are caring for, say, someone at their home right now?
Sure. Of course, the main thing is, be safe, only go out when you have to, utilize all those services that are delivery if you can. Go by the, HB has a great curbside pickup, wear a mask, wear gloves, even safety goggles is a good thing what they're recommending now. They're also, the CDC actually came out today, say that your mask shouldn't have vents, so make sure the plain face masks, surgical masks, N95s if you can get them. Those are really the ones that you really need to be wearing. Of course, nothing really beats good old hand washing. So,
yes,
seeing happy birthday, really get in there and scrub, take your time, get your hands washed.
Maybe put a little hand sanitizer on there. That's what I do. I like a belt and suspenders approach to my estate planning and my hand washing.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I have another question for you that I think is really important. Some people may be caring for a loved one at home, and they're maybe a parent, and they're just thinking, at this point, I cannot take care of them anymore. Are there any nursing homes, are there any placement options for people who really have just decided, even though it's a time of COVID, I have to make a placement? Are there any options for those clients?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of options right now. Assisted livings are still doing admissions, independent living, skilled nursing. You do need to do a lot more calling around, digging, talking to the admissions people, talking to people who might have experiences there. Find out if they have any active COVID cases. Find out if they've had some and they've gone away. When you're looking at skilled nursing, asking them if they have COVID wings. There's things like that where you need to really kind of start digging in a little bit more than I would say usual. But there are places that are allowing admissions. They're not really doing tours. You would have to ask them for virtual tours. A lot of them are doing that now, like walking around with their phone and showing their spaces, rooms, activity areas, kitchens, things like that. Of course, the one thing we have to remember is because it is the time during COVID that when you have an admission in one of the facilities, your visitation is going to be limited.
Right.
So we're going to want to think about that, making sure, say, let's get that loved one that iPad. Let's get them that watch that has a phone on there that we can call, and they don't have to worry about picking up. It just automatically answers. So there's things like that we can do to enhance the communication during this time when we can't really go in and see our loved ones.
Right, and we've had several cases recently where, the time to place a loved one, it's never easy, and they were just ready during this COVID time, and so there's still options, and thank you, Rob, for that. That's some good information. So back to a couple questions we received on estate planning, and it says, do I need a will if I don't have real property? And so the answer is yes. Especially if you have minor children, you're going to want to create a trust for that minor child in your will, because a couple of things. So if you're a parent out there listening and you have a minor kiddo, you don't want to name that child, if they're under the age of 18, in their individual capacity as a beneficiary of your IRA or your life insurance, because at your death, a minor cannot inherit property. So they would have to go get that expensive, time-consuming lawyer fee process called guardianship. The best way to do it is to have a will and then create a trust for that child in your will, and then make sure that you update your beneficiary designation. So that's my big mantra for the evening. Number one, make sure you have a financial power of attorney, and number two, know that your beneficiary designations will trump your will. So be sure if you have a ex-wife, ex-husband, an ex-somebody, ex-daughter-in-law, ex-friend, that you update those beneficiary designations, because even if you change your will, if you don't change those beneficiary designations, that estate asset may go to a person you don't want it to. So yes, you do need a will, even if you don't have real property. You would want that for minor children, and you would also want a will if you have children, so that you can name a guardian. You can do this guardian designation either in your will. You can also do it in a separate piece of paper, but you need to make those provisions And the other thing is, you may not know what you have at the time of your death. No one necessarily knows when they're going to die, so you may have real property. So best bets is to go ahead, make a will, even if you don't have real property, even if you don't have minor children. That way you control where your assets go and not the state of Texas. Because if you die without a will, don't worry. The state of Texas has what we call a descent and distribution plan. That means it will pass to certain family members of yours. And you may not like those family members, so be sure that you have your will, so if you don't like your family, you can disinherit them.
So how often?
I like you.
Yeah. How often should you actually look at your beneficiary designations and your will and your powers of attorney?
So the best practice, which I don't even know I do, I probably do it every couple of years, but I would say at least every 2 years or after a major life event. So let's say you have a birth of a grandchild, you have a special needs person enter your life, you have a disabled person, you have a spouse that's diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia, some type of critical illness, a loved one that has dementia or some type of special need or disability. That's a time to go back and review your documents. And people get married, they get divorced. You may have people named in your power of attorney that you don't like or trust, or they may just not be able to do the job. Maybe they've moved, or they've gotten older, they have health issues. So, yeah, every couple of years at least.
So pull them out and look at them?
Yes, and please pull out the signed versions, and don't rely on your memory, because sometimes our memory is faulty. And please don't look at just the drafts. You want to look at those executed copies and know where they are too. So that's some good tips for everybody. Okay. What are the major elements of estate planning? So I like to think of estate planning as what I call the 2 Ds. And it's going to get real fun here, and that's called disability and death. I'm sorry.
Those are your 2 Ds?
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it PG. So disability and death. So we want to think about how are we going to manage our affairs with a disability, and that's with the financial power of attorney. That would take care of the your financial needs, and then a medical power of attorney, which would take care of your medical needs. And then the death part, of course, is having a will. You may actually have a trust. So sometimes people will say, do I need a will? Do I need a trust? And we typically recommend trust for folks that have out-of-state property, mineral interests. They have the time and capability of setting them up and getting them properly funded. But they both do the same thing. They give your money away at your death to the people you have named or the charities that you have named. The trust is just created during your lifetime. And so there's a little bit more maintenance and upkeep to it, but it can make things really easy for your family at your incapacity or your death. So it just depends on what's right for you and the amount of time that you have in your life. I have a will personally because I'm super busy. I'm the mom of 2 boys. I have a law practice, so I like to keep things really, really simple, so I have a will. And I also know that probate in Texas, and especially Harris County, is not that big of a deal, especially since we can do Zoom hearings. My life has changed dramatically, so thank you, Corona.
For one
thing. And for showing me my natural hair color, so thank you, Corona. Okay, so the other question we had was, how does a trust work? A trust is a piece of paper. It's a legal instrument. I kind of compare it to a soup bowl. We create it during your lifetime. It takes care of the stuff in that trust or titled in the name of the trust when you are sick or incapacitated, and then distributes those trust assets at your death. So that's what a trust does. So it's kind of a short Cliff Notes version, but that's the answer that I'm going to give. So, all right, Ron.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about as far as care management?
Well, what about when to know when is the right time to place your loved one?
Oh, that's a good one.
And I want to be honest, you're never going to know if it's exactly the right time. It's one of those difficult decisions that we have to meet and discuss and really kind of weigh the pros and cons. There are some, blanket advice that I give. If you're looking to, I would say go to independent sooner than later. Mm-hmm. When you go, independent living is, like an apartment. They might have meals, they have activities, but it's like a secured environment. It's like a warm hug for all the relatives. Mm-hmm. Then you have assisted living. And that's a little bit higher. You need a little more help with your ADLs. And really, when we're looking at assisted living, it's when you start to be able to have trouble, or when you start to have trouble doing those activities that you're living, trouble taking a shower by yourself, trouble cooking for yourself, feeding yourself, You know, a lot of those things that we do all the time without even thinking about it, really, that's when we look at assisted living. And when it comes to time to go to nursing, I really say when it becomes where they need help 24 hours. If you can't provide 24-hour care in assisted living, and that's a possibility. There's ways to do all that, but if it's not financially, an option, or if they just need so much medical care that you need that medical environment, I would say that's probably the right time to switch to skilled nursing. But we sit down and we talk about everybody, because everybody's an individual. They have different needs, different care likes. So really, it's going to be different for everybody. It's never going to feel right.
Yeah.
And I would say most of the time we're moving too late into places.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's what it is. We hesitate.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter where you're at. We can help you out no matter what stage you're looking at or how much help you need at that time.
So if you are thinking, how can I make things easier for my adult children? Say you just retired and you're thinking, I got to get my will done, I got to update my beneficiary designations. The other thing that I think is really helpful for the adult children is to sit down and have conversations with them about what your preferences are, where it's okay to spend every dime that we have on paying for our care, or at this certain point it's okay to place me in a nursing facility or assisted living. Because what we see is parents asking their adult children to make promises, or the adult children making promises to their parents, oh, I'll never place you in a facility. And that's a really hard promise to keep. I think anybody, whether you're a young person or an older person, disability has open membership. So you can have an accident or some type of medical event and be a young person and go to a nursing facility. So I think having these conversations now is really, really helpful, and I think can relieve those adult kids from a lot of the grief, because that's what we see with our clients. It's a grieving process. It's like those Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief, and we really do see that.
It's a major change in their life.
Very stressful.
It's a shift. And being a caregiver is very difficult, and it's more difficult than most people realize.
Yes.
Not just the stress of taking care of someone, then you also have to take care of yourself, your family, other people that's involved. And
maybe you're managing their finances too.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to do for any one person.
It's another job.
Yes.
And it's not 40 hours a week. It's all the time. And so really, when we're talking about the care, we're looking at both the caregiver and the person receiving the care, and that goes into the judgment of when we need to move. And we want to make sure that both the caregiver and the client has taken care of. You got to look at both of them.
And I think that's so helpful to have a care manager like yourself have those conversations with family. Yes, you're very good at what you do. It's so helpful because you may have adult children with different motivations, different grudges, different belief systems, different promises that they've made. And I think having a neutral third party go in, do an assessment, and make recommendations to the family can help unite the family and put together a plan that is doable.
Yeah, and they listen to people who aren't their family members.
You don't listen to people that are your family members.
No, I don't listen to my family members.
No,
you don't listen to your family members. But it's true. I can say the same thing to my family members, and then someone else will say, they're like, oh, why didn't you ever say that? That's a great idea.
That's just being a human being. We give our family no credibility. So I think that's an important something to think about. So we talk about wills and trusts and powers of attorney, but really they need to be woven in with discussions about placement and expectations. And especially if you're in a second or third marriage. There's a lot of litigation surrounding when two people get married, especially later in life, and some of these decisions and discussions haven't been mapped out, especially when you involve money. Usually the lawyers end up getting involved with some type of guardianship, and it's really traumatic to the family. So I want to go back to another question that was sent in, and it was a very detailed question, so I want to take a few minutes. And it's a question about Medicaid. And before I answer the question on Medicaid, I just wanted to give everybody who's listening a little bit of background. So Medicaid is an insurance program And in Texas, there's 109 different programs, and they all do different things. So if you hear something negative, or, oh, this person didn't qualify for Medicaid because of this or that reason, it may not necessarily be the Medicaid program that your loved one would be looking at. So just keep that in mind. And there's special rules for married couples. And the other thing that I just want to let everyone know is there's certain programs that you need to get onto an interest list or a waiting list for that provide for home care. This question talks about, in the future, I may need to get on Medicaid. I would like to know how and when to apply, what assets are exempt, or how do I protect my assets. So there's a lot in that particular sentence, but let me just kind of break it down. When you apply for Medicaid, Medicaid has a financial and medical criteria. And I explain it to clients, it's like baking a cake. We're going to have different elements, different ingredients to the recipe. And once we have all of those ingredients, then Medicaid will give you eligibility. So most Medicaid programs will have an income test, and it's going to depend on the program. And then they'll have an asset test. And generally, Medicaid will divide the things that you own into two categories: countable, which there will be a cap on, and exempt, which will be valued at zero. An exempt asset would be like a home or a car or a pre-funeral contract, sometimes IRAs, and countable assets are typically everything else. So if you are a single person, the countable asset cap is $2,000. But there are special rules to allow you to gift money to, say, a family member that has a disability. And that's part of this email. She's talking about her brother lives with her and receives Social Security about $500 a month. So I'm going to guess, based on that Social Security, he is on SSI, and he is a person with a disability. So if he is under the age of 65 at the time of need, one option would be for you to be able to get assets to him. And then we would also take a look at what your exempt assets are. And so if you're a single person and you have, and this is under current Medicaid policy because Medicaid rules always change, an IRA, a retirement account, and you're over 70 and a half, or taking out your RMDs and have reached the retirement age for pulling out RMDs, and that changed a little bit this year, then those IRAs are considered exempt, not countable. So that's big, wonderful news. Lots more detail on that. So, but generally, that would be my first analysis for this person, is to look at what their countable assets are, what their exempt assets are, and then for the brother that's on Social Security, I would make provisions for him in your will or a trust to set up something that we call a supplemental needs trust, where you can give money to a special kind of trust so it won't disqualify that beneficiary for financial eligibility, meaning it won't be what we call a countable asset. And so if you don't have long-term care insurance, and I'm assuming that's part of this issue that this person wrote in, I would suggest get on this interest list for a program that's called Star Plus Waiver. Rob, do you mind just typing that into the comment section here?
Sure.
Rob's going to type it into the comment section. It's called Star Plus Waiver. And Star Plus Waiver is really one of my favorite programs because it will pay for 30 to 50 hours a week of home care programs. There's special rules for married couples. There is an interest list or a waiting list. So if you're listening right now and you want to get yourself or your loved one on this interest list, and it's called Star Plus Waiver, call 211. It will not be an easy, it will be hard to put yourself on this list because 211 is hard to deal with, but it's worth it. Just be patient, get a cup of coffee or an adult beverage, and just call them and
call early in the morning.
Yes, call early at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and have your name, your social, your date of birth, or your loved one's information, and get them on the list. In fact, if you are over the age of 55 and you come to my office, you are probably on the Star Plus Waiver interest list already.
Then I think we have a question from the comments.
Oh, I have a comment. Corona is not an excuse to let your roots show.
Well, no, sorry about that.
Thank you, Wendy. I have a hair appointment on the 19th.
All right. So
thank you very much.
The question actually is, how are families handling legal issues during COVID?
From the same little Hot Mess Express, Wendy Jasper.
If they have family in assisted living or nursing homes.
Yes.
We have had issues in the home my aunt is in.
Okay.
I would say, really depends on the issue. Contacting the social worker, the director of nursing, the administrator in the facility is a good way to really contact the loved ones. That's where it comes in when I say that iPad or something, electronic device that they can use where you can communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
It can, whatever we can figure out, if it's a phone or anything like that. Just that way, that's the way we're able to communicate, is having that way.
Or maybe find like a nurse's aide that's at the facility that you become friends with. Maybe slip them some food or a little thank you, and see if they can get your loved one on FaceTime on a regular basis.
Also, window meetings. We do a lot of window meetings. We're at the facility, so go into the facility, but just talking through their bedroom window.
Yeah. So one of the other questions that we had was talking about planning for special needs children. And we do a lot of planning for special needs kids. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love to have mom and dad come in and have concerns about paying for their kiddos' care. One of the questions was, what is the best way for a family with a disabled child to get started on planning? And it's going to be just like planning for any other situation when you're a mom or a dad or you've got a kid. You're going to want wills and powers of attorney. You're going to need documentation to appoint guardians. And a lot of times the families may not even have their loved ones on some of these very long interest lists or waiting lists for children's Medicaid. So we always like to tell the parents, go ahead, get your kiddo on the interest list for these Medicaid programs that can provide home care, care at maybe a personal care home, and there's something that's called the Medicaid buy-in for children. And Rob, do you mind throwing that up in the comments section?
Sure.
Thank you. And so the Medicaid buy-in program for children is a way a family can access the Medicaid benefit even if they have income or assets. A lot of times parents think, oh, I have income or savings, and they've been told by Social Security or by a friend that they'll never be able to get their kid on Medicaid until age 18. And that's just not true. As long as we have the Affordable Care Act put in place, there's this children's Medicaid buy-in. And we may do a session coming up, another Facebook live stream on just Medicaid for kids. But I just want parents to know that is available. And if you're out there and you have a loved one who has a child that's on Medicaid, and they're also covered under their employer's health insurance, go ahead and apply for something that's called the HIP program. Robbie, and that is a way that you can get your health insurance premiums reimbursed to you by the state of Texas, and that can help free up the cash flow for the family.
Easiest application to do, too.
Easy. And we don't say that. We don't put the word easy and Medicaid in a sentence very often, but here we do. Okay, Rob, we've got like 2 minutes left.
Sure, let's say hi to some people that are in here.
Let's see. I see some people we
love. Okay. The Rollins.
Hey, Rollins.
Mr. Jennings.
Mr. Jennings. Mr. Karras. Hi, Barbara. Joy. Hi, Marion. And then my best friend for over 40 years, Wendy Jasper. Hope Robinson. That's a Huntsville classic there.
So we appreciate everybody being here today.
We love we love all of our family and our friends.
Putting up with us for a half hour.
That's right. And all of our, by the way, Rob and I are brother and sister, in case we didn't tell you. That's why we didn't feel like we had to social distance. But we really miss going out into the community and talking. If there's anybody there. My uncle just posted, I like how my uncle just posted a totally shady comment about our dad. My diabetic brother is eating candy in the dark while his wife is away.
It's probably true, though.
It's probably true. That is probably true. Bob Pierce is probably sitting in his underwear.
Put the good and plenties down, Dad.
Put them down, Bob. Gotta hear it.
If you'd like to get more of us, our great wit and our comedy, in our advice, please call us to book an appointment, 713-529-5900. We'll be happy to talk to you. We're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And we are also going to be putting a summary of all the content that we went over from our Facebook Live on our Facebook page. So you'll get a written summary. If you know me, you know I love a good written summary. So you're going to get that on the Facebook page.
So now we come to the end. They suffered through us for a half hour.
Do
you have that
I do. Okay, so for a $50 Starbucks gift card, if you will send us the names of 5 celebrities that died without a will, and you'll have the information on where to send it to on our Facebook page. You have to send us the name of 5 celebrities who died without a will to our office. You will be eligible for a drawing. All correct answers will be eligible for a drawing for a $50 Starbucks gift card. You have to send us a valid email and a valid phone number so we can make sure we get that Starbucks gift card to you. If you don't, then we'll pick somebody else, and that'll be a sad day for
check
you.
the Facebook page. Send us your answers there.
Yep.
When's our next
Our next wisdom is going to be Tuesday, August the 25th at 8:30 here on Facebook. And I think I'm going to do. I think I made up my mind of what the topic's going to be. I did that while you were talking.
Oh.
You want to know what it is?
No, keep me in suspense.
I'm going to tell everybody. And Rob. So we're going to talk about financing long-term care. So we're going to talk about Medicaid. We're going to talk about Star Plus waiver. We're going to talk about veterans benefits. We're going to talk about
long-term care insurance.
Long-term care insurance, and we're going to talk about why you should never get legal advice in a church parking lot or the beauty salon.
And if you drive on the highways, you need long-term care insurance.
That's my joke.
I stole it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, see y'all soon.
Bye.